Okay, everybody, we're ready to start this next session. We have Willie, Peng, and Dhusdee from Fullerton. Yeah, let's get started.
Well, good afternoon now. So it's 12 o'clock. Our presentation, when we first started submitting this in, I was like, how am I going to start this presentation topic? And this was way back in 2024. And then this is the slide that I actually took a picture of. And Tom was just mentioning, hey, here is a single person access NRP from Fullerton. And I was just scratching my head. Did I do that? Or did someone else do that on campus? So I reached out to Tom and Larry and John, and we all kind of got that started. So that was the single dot that we started as our presentation topic. And we're going to talk to you some of the journeys. There's a lot of conversation we already had about collaborations externally within the CSUs, within the NRP, within SDSCs. We're going to talk a little bit more about what are we doing internally, how we're building some of our programs.
So earlier today, I talked about how collaborative we are within the CSU. We're also competitive. So the one dot, we said, hey, we got to bring in all these great resources back to Fullerton, but we can't just be one dot. We got to get a little bit more than that, especially with all the available GPU and CPU powers that we can bring to our campus. So just a little bit of background of what we've done since is, in addition to the technical implementation, we said we really need to focus on working with our campus, different groups on our campus. So we've reached out to our Office of Research and Sponsored Projects, the various centers that are our campus research centers, and then we worked with various deans. We formed some committees, we renamed some centers as well along in the way within the span of 2 years. So one of the centers that had been existing on campus was the, now I don't remember the
Center for Computational and Applied Mathematics. And then later on, we renamed that center because of all the collaborations within the campus to Titan Supercomputing Center.
Right, and then how CCAM, one of the grants that CCAM had a few years ago, which Willie is also part of the co-PI for, was a DoD grant that set up one of our clusters. And that's how we made the connection with CCAM and then worked with the faculty there and the research there to expand it to not just be a center for a smaller group of faculty, but really a resource for the entire campus, and that's with the support of the NRP resource that we introduced. So CCAM, going back to this, with the Titan Supercomputing Center, the 4 models that we were trying to focus on is community, research, education, and workforce. So I'm going to go over the community part, which we think is really important part of this. It's not just about research and education, it's also the community partnerships. So we really want to foster for our undergraduate students that sense of community, because that, we believe, ties into all the other aspects. And ultimately, we want to give our students a skill set they can have when they leave our campus to be able to find jobs or continue higher education. So this is kind of a brief timeline to go over how we've established ourselves. So 2015 was our first cluster, and it was a very small cluster that we have on campus that we still use today. And we've had other clusters that we also manage or support. So 2022 was a DoD grant that I mentioned. And then in 2022, when our campus became R2, we started thinking, okay, well, what are some of the things that we need to do to help the campus to grow in that area? So we started looking at DTNs and how we can set up our network, our science DMZ, all of that. And that's when that brought us to 2024, which is when we came to Cenic conference. So collaboration across institutions, Tide working with SDSU, Cenic to establish all of our network, and also working with all of you folks here on campus and folks we've gotten to know through the NRP. We've reached out to folks in the East Coast. We've reached out to folks in the Midwest, all over the place, and it's really amazing how this has really opened doors for us to learn not just the technical side, but how research is done at other institutions, how research is managed, how collaboration is done. So the other these are some things we want to highlight that was we were able to bring to our campus or allow our faculty to be able to do. So here's an example of during the summer, what we did was in part of Time Supercomputing was we offered a summer research opportunity for our students. So students got, and they were paired up with a faculty mentor. So faculty got stipend and students also were given a stipend. So this is one of the research that was that our students worked on, and this is Dr. Ryan Camarota, and so he used our environment to be able to run his analysis, and our students were, this was such a small learning curve for them compared to some of the things that they were doing in terms of computation in the past. And then in terms of community, we also invite faculty from other campuses. So Dr. Jan, for example, came from USC recently. So he came and he spoke to us, our students, and kind of shared his research and how he's using his data analysis. So his research is around brain imaging and things like that. So that's part of our community efforts that we did. And then this is a research symposium. So at the conclusion of the summer program that our students and faculty worked on, we had a symposium where they really got to showcase all of their research and their poster boards and speak to our faculty mentors. And then we had judges to evaluate all the research projects that they worked on. So here's some of the things, as I mentioned in our earlier session, we were very intentional about including colleges that were not the STEM colleges. So we highly encourage, when we saw a proposal coming from the arts, we said, hey, we got to include the arts and also humanities. Although, even though this is focused on natural science, mathematics, and engineering, computer science, our goal eventually over time is to expand this to other colleges. And here's an example of one of the projects. This is a Ladino, which is a kind of a dying language with that one of our faculty is trying to preserve. So this parchment that you see here is one of the manuscripts. So one of our faculty and student research mentor, faculty mentor and student researcher worked over the summer to use our environment to to run these the Ladino. And so what they want to do is to train an AI agent to understand the language and be able to decipher the language.
One of the other undergraduate researcher was a music major faculty. He was actually submitting all those music into the large language model, which is hosted in the, that we're leveraging the NRP. Because they're saying, I want to use different language model to see how they actually synthesize those documents, those music sheets. So that was one of the other one. We didn't really just put it in the slides. So this is our current infrastructure in HPC. So like Dhusdee kind of mentioned, we had the traditional HPC, which is on the left-hand side of the slide. And that traditional HPC, generally just, you don't have everything connected to the HPR network because it's all clustered and locally hosted. Because of NRP and because of the Science DMZ and then the HPR network that's provided and supported by Chancellor's Office and Cenic, we're able to bring the HPR network into our campus. And the DTN is acting as in between, so I can actually handle larger data sets coming out of the globus, and then I can pull the data into the local HPC, and then the faculty can actually leverage those data sets. So currently we're hosting probably about 20 plus-ish computational nodes, both on the CPU side and on the GPU. One of the things we did is we leveraged some of our old VMware boxes. To us, all we need is plugging a larger hard drive, and now they can become a CPU node where our faculty and staff can really use them in a non-GPU Jupyter notebook. So we talk a lot about Jupyter, and then so we actually presented another conference at JupyterCon last year, and we kind of just showcase all the things that we've done within Jupyter too. So we intentionally put ourselves into the classrooms and also in our faculty. Some of the things that we've done, aside from really created the ecosystems and the space within ourselves, is because we know that there is some entry points for faculty to say, I want a particular space to do my research, or I want to do a particular, create another resource pool for my own research. We decided that we want to host it ourselves internally first. If faculty eventually wants to venture out and be able to be more creative, sure. For us, we want to build a playground for our student first. So we created a CSUF Times so every student can log in. We created a classroom more intentionally for faculty to teach in the classroom, and then they can put some of their own Docker images in there. And then some of nodes are tented, like we were talking about this morning. And then for faculty who really need to have a higher computational needs, we created a namespace called CSUF Research. And all of them, what we all know of the things we've done is I understand that you have a specific Docker image that you have to list it, but we also learned from Don that, hey, you can actually specify where the Docker image is at. So on the very bottom of all of our drop-downs, we say if any of your images is not in there, if you know where the image is, go put it down somewhere. So we kind of eliminate the initial onboarding for the faculty. One of our faculty, because we all know that GPU can be outperforming CPU in some of those parallel computations anytime. And we want to showcase this to all the computational faculties who are still leveraging CPU a lot. So we built this table for them, how powerful those machines can be. So Dr. Greg Childers, a physics faculty, he was running some algebraic computational nodes, so he was able to help us run a matrix of this. It was a 20.6 million matrix, and a T4 GPU, which we generally had in our initial HPC, couldn't handle it, right? We gradually, because of some of the funding we collaborated within the campus, were able to get the A100 nodes into our cluster, and then we actually had an H200 cluster that was in collaboration with our College of Engineering and Computer Science, collaborated with IT, and collaborated with natural science and mathematics. So that was one of the reasons we're able to bring all those resources together and bring it from a single center within the college into an institutional center. So one of the shout outs is actually to our students who actually put this into the context and use the leveraging NRP is, I believe, Akashat Desai and Dr. Makdo. I think he's the one who initially published the paper, and this is the first paper they published, and then they give credits to NRP, and then so we're super proud that I think that was the first year when we put this on, they're able to leverage
So
this.
within the short time span of us offering these resources, Akshat and Dr. Mato was able to do their computations in time to publish a paper within the deadline that they needed to. I mean, we were over the weekend, 24 hours going, okay, how's it going for you? And then they were able to get this in on time. So this is our very first paper that was published on our campus using NRP resources. Thanks to the resource now, Dr. Smar has brought up, they're continuing this research on a different, with a different focus.
Yeah, from brain cancers to the brain image. Yeah.
So in terms of education, we partnered with our campus faculty on the research side, but also we wanted to make sure that our students are using these in the classroom. And that's where we want to bring the equitability factor and offer the computational resources that for our students that they wouldn't have had previously. So one of the things we did as we're meeting with various faculty, because it's such a new resource to our campus, what we ended up doing was creating small lesson plan. And then we actually went to the classroom. So like Willie and I, we visited each of the classrooms. I don't know how we find time in our 24 hours a day, but and we taught these lessons in the various different classes. So we started that in the fall. So we developed a very simple intro to Jupyter lesson. First lesson was just, hey, how do you get on? What do you use? Just very basic things. And then we followed up with, here's some simple computations, some simple scripts you can do. And we wrote it in such a way where we can teach it in College of Business, we can teach it within the engineering, we can teach it in various other disciplines. So it's a basic enough where our students can get on and learn it. And then also we added on to some instructions in there where the students can do some updates and things like that. So we made a very complete step-by-step lesson plan that in the hopes that in the future, the classroom that we visited, the faculty can take that and apply it to the next semester on their own. So kind of like a trainer type of approach. So that was really successful. We started in the fall and continued again this semester. So these are some of the metrics that we got.
This is, I want to add something real quick. What we found out really, it's by accident. We found out there's the courses, one of the courses they're about to do a redesign because they just had a textbook change. And we told them, I say, hey, when you're having a textbook change, can we inject those two modules into your course? And then so we intentionally put ourselves into that course. So the next things what we're looking at is we actually talk to our academic affairs and start to find out what other courses they start to have their textbook change on, or the course coordinator who are about to do their course refresh. And so that was one of the ideas that I have. And then also I start looking at the DFW courses and what are the courses that actually are hosting larger amount of students or a large amount of sections. So that's our next step is to kind of put ourselves intentionally into those course redesign.
These are some of the classes on campus that are using the Nautilus platform today. The other part is this is a really good timing for our campus with a lot of focus now on data science, computations, not just in the STEM field, but in other disciplines. So just this semester, I'm having faculty reach out to me and say, hey, can you tell me more about this Jupyter? How can I incorporate computation in what I do? Rather it being a theoretical thing I'm teaching to my students, how can my students actually log on and do large data modeling for my class? So that's kind of where we are, is really working with faculty, even if it's 1-2 faculty reaching out to us. That's all it takes right now for us to show them what you can do. So one of the things right now, I'm working with one faculty in designing a whole new course. So that's huge for us because even before this, faculty would not be reaching out to us. We would be going to as many meetings as possible to spread the word, but really it's that feedback to us and really improving the experience for the students as well. So here's one of the courses, Applied Artificial Intelligence. So before NRP, we weren't really able to offer a class like this. This is a lower level division class. And we also have machine learning and natural language processing class as well. So this one, we quickly introduced it because because of all the AI and a lot of things have ChatGPT and a lot of things that are students wanting to learn in this area. And so we came up with this course. Just when I say we, it's more computer science. We both teach out of College of Computer Science as well. So we work with the faculty and the department, and one of our faculty really championed the use of NRP. And this course is very introducing some of the basic concepts within AI. And this is the one where we specifically wrote where the students are using NRP resources to do their coursework. And when we started, there was only one section, and now there's about 4 sections. So it started last semester. So this is the intro to Jupyter sessions that I mentioned. And so we did 2 introductory lessons, which really quick and short. And so it's digestible to the students, also to the faculty as well, so they can be more familiar with it. And so we did a student survey of what their experience is with the course. So you can see here with about 300 something students across the way. So from here, we were able to assess like what is their experience, how were they able to, for those like students who have never written a Python script, were they intimidated before and after? So you can see some of the positive improvements across the different areas. And then I'm going to show the next survey as well. So you can see here that they, between fall of 2025 and spring are completely different set of students, but very similar feedback. For the most part, they were very positive in the areas where, okay, they learned something, they were able to gain some skills. And then we also see where, okay, we're areas where we can maybe improve upon as well. So I'm going to forward to the next survey. So here, one of the things we wanted to make sure was that the students understand, first of all, the immediate thing we wanted to make sure there was that ease of use, because if it's not easy to use, easier for students to get in, then there's not going to be enough adaptability. So that's what we were trying to focus on. So if you look here, in terms of usability, comfort, using before and after the lesson, we gave them some very simple plotting with like matplotlib or some of the very basic scripting skills to learn. They were able to pick up very quickly, actually, some of these skill sets. So there was some really good positive feedback, and here are some of the student comments. There was nothing to install, so that's really huge. And then everything was online. It's really, so that's, this to us, what kind of gave us our affirmation that we were kind of going in the right direction. We wanted to make sure that this is really easy for the students to use. The comment that we liked was like, AI is harder than I thought, but now I know what to do, where to look, what to ask, right? So you hear the word AI out there, but the students may not really understand what does that truly mean. And then I liked learning that the data work has ethics behind it, because we incorporated ethics into our course curriculum as well. So all these students' feedback, the positive and also things that we need to improve on, we really take that back and, we assess and say, okay, what are the things we need to change for the coming semester? And this is kind of the breakdown across the different colleges. So you can see here, ECS is still a large user, but the other piece we're trying to work on is reaching out to the other colleges. College of the Arts surprisingly has a number of research related to computations and things like that. So that's where one of the other areas we want to focus on. And then this is just our metrics from our Google Analytics. We insert Google Analytics on there so we can follow the metrics and then use across the different namespaces.
We start to put Google Analytics in our namespace, so now we can start easily track of instead of creating a yet another tool sets.
Yep.
So on the faculty development side, one of the things we're doing. We talk to faculty development center. They're the faculty who actually send out the messages to the department chairs, to the deans and associate deans. A couple of things we've done over the year is we talk to the faculty during the new faculty orientation. Aside from receiving their laptop, which they're cool, but we also say, hey, have you heard about NRP? Have you heard about Jupyter Notebook? If you're doing your research, what are your research areas? Or can we map some of this or match you with someone else? Because these are new faculty, they have no idea what kind of resources we have on campus. We also reach out to all the department chairs. We have a council of chairs meeting. I will intentionally put myself in front. I ask my chair coordinator, says, can you give me 15 minutes of your time? I can show you what we have and what we have been built. And Dhusdee and I, we go to department meetings, we go to associate deans, we go to deans, and we tell them what all the things that we have done on the HPC and Nautilus. We built on some of those activities that was done probably 3-4 years ago when our provost gave out a quick stipend on implementing AI assignments in the classroom. So faculty were actually getting a stipend, taking the micro AI credentials that was built by SDSU, and then created an AI embedded assignment in their class. So based on that, I thought, hey, I can take this and then I can make it into something a little bit probably more meaningful for the next step. So what I ended up doing is last year I started creating this, and also it's a stipend for faculty, especially more during the summertime, because during the semester they probably don't have enough time to do this, is to create a shareable module. This shareable module has a couple of intentions. We know that creating or recreating a whole course is very daunting, and faculty probably don't have time to do that. Taking someone else's entire course that has embedded all Jupyter Notebook is also very daunting because they have to totally switch their teaching pedagogy. So have them create a 2-module within their courses is probably not as hard. They can probably take some of their lessons and then convert it into Jupyter Notebook or any kind of HPC. Initially, we will only build it for the faculty who are using the STEM programs, but we actually see there's a lot more faculty who are interested in doing that because of the ease of onboarding on the Jupyter Notebook. So this is one of the faculty who submitted, and I'm gonna just kind of read it out of that. So this is a faculty coming from College of Education, even though this is a 400 level courses, but this is to teach the elementary school teachers, so these are upcoming teachers, how to use Jupyter Notebook. So this faculty says he wants to introduce these future elementary teachers to the fundamental principles of computational thinking, especially in data sorting, algorithm design, critical data analysis through the lens of equity and justice in education. And so what they want to do is they want faculty to not just look at the data by itself, but ask the question is, what story does the data tell, and what does the story that are missing? And so, so he's rebuilding this particular module, so student will explore how data system, when unexamined, can become tools for exclusions. Through discussions and reflections, they'll critique algorithm decision-making process and begin envision how to teach data and fairness in way acceptable to elementary students. The next one, this is a Spanish 400 level course. So they want the students to analyze large data sets relative to cultural studies. And let me see if I have a little bit more information on this. So they want the module to introduce students to computational approaches for studying cultural text and media by leveraging the NRP resources. Students engage in large-scale text analysis, sentiment analysis, linguistic pattern recognition using Python tools, and then combining computational methods with cultural study framework and module extended their traditional writing and close reading, helping the student analyze themes, representations, and cultural dynamic at scale. So that was actually coming out of their submission on creating a shareable module. So within the shareable module, we create some framework. So they will need to have a particular outcomes that they want to carry out in the class. Right now, the very first time when we did is we give them a little bit more flexibility on how they want to build their own course outline or student learning outcome. This semester, coming up in the summer, we are actually making it a more structured. And we're actually asking one of the faculty who's actually teaching in educations to recreate some of the framework on how to build a more structured shareable module. So now faculty can actually use that module, working with the instructional designers, not just faculty themselves, to build a more structured shareable module where other faculty can actually start using. So one of the things we plan to do in this case is once the faculty build their modules, we ask them to teach on their courses, get some feedback from the students, have a reflection, see what they can improve on their shareable module, and now sharing that module publicly within our campus. So that's the idea what we're planning to do. So go ahead.
To add to that, we have a small committee that we work with to get input of faculty to get input on how can we facilitate or offer, make it simple enough for the faculty to be able to also duplicate with across other courses. So the intent is to start out with a small number of faculty, but then also to be able to mirror that in other areas.
We want faculty to talk to faculty. We don't, once we build this framework, we want to be behind the curtain, trying to work out all the mechanics of it. And so here's one of the feedback from the faculty. He's able to use the live data analysis around social justice topic and to access to waters and housing, and plan to explain the implementation to another ethnic group study instructors. And then we also have the feedback from the instructional designers, how they're able to be a good use for the faculty when they're redesigning the course. Because we all know faculty, like myself, we teach what we learn. And then that might be 10 years ago how I learned. And with the current technology, the instructional designers, they're all better at finding out those technologies and then what tools that we can bring students to be more engaging. Couple more other success stories or feedbacks coming from the faculty. This one is from the modern language to create this innovation chart narrative to provide the strong visuals. And I think I have one more other success stories. They do feel that this plug and play modularity makes it a little bit easier for them so they can bring it out to the classroom. So what we learned is that faculty, they are actually very appreciative and they're proud when there is instructional designers support from them, for them, and then us from a back end supporting on the technical side. And one of the things that we're planning to do is this coming summer, the plan is to have adopting 2 more faculties. I mean, there will be a lot more submission, I'm pretty sure, but we plan to have at least 2 faculties per college to submit this shareable module, work with them, and then we plan to then grow on top of that. So this is just a couple more feedback coming from faculty. I know that this is a very early stage, but I think we do see a momentum that the faculties are appreciative of this. And then, of course, this is a collaboration not just from IT, because I'm from the central IT. So IT, I talked to my VP, says, can you help me fund the next summer faculty and shareable module program, and working with the provost, working with academic affairs, because IT send out messages, it's going to be a very different approach than faculty development center sending out those messages and soliciting for those submissions.
So just to go over the very last slide here, I think we've kind of incorporated in our talks, but the other thing that we joined was the Titans Thinking Together initiative in partnership with Office of Research Sponsored Projects. And that is an initiative that we've collaborated with other faculty and administrators on campus to build upon this program even more. And also this initiative extends to the community. So those are some of the other things that we're doing. And also we've begun, what's not on here is talks with our local community college as well. We have some faculty who teach at various different community colleges, and those are the ones that we will be reaching out to say, okay, how can we support the smooth transition of students from community colleges when they come to Cal State Fullerton or any other 4-year institutions? And how can the NRP resources support in that way? So we are working with a few of the community colleges around that. Okay.
Yeah. So definitely a big shout out to all the folks who stay till the end, and also all the folks who supported this, because I mean, we just learned, right, from Tom mentioned now there can be a private partner collaborations within NRP, and then that was one of the conversation I just learned during this conference. We do have folks within Orange County private sector who says, can I use this? But definitely I already talked to Bao from Chico State. No, I'm sorry, from Fresno. Yeah, that they are able to do that. So I'm grateful for extending that collaboration.
So we do have time for a few questions. I guess I'll kick it off. And everyone knows what a giant proponent I am of Jupyter Notebooks. I use them all the time. But I was thrown a curveball earlier this year by our folks in administration when they raised the issue of accessibility with Jupyter Notebooks. I managed to dodge the ball by saying, well, it's not a web page, it's a scientific notebook rendered in a web page. And that sort of got me out from behind the 8 ball, to mix a metaphor. But have you encountered any pushback in that space yourselves?
So Willie wears a lot of hats. We all do, but Willie and
I have not yet about this accessibility of Jupyter Notebook, but I'm also the exec sponsor for the ATI, so I would definitely take that and then take a look at it a little bit more extensively. Yes.
Now, I have to say it's a fair criticism, right? They're they can be text heavy. They're sometimes, especially if you're dealing with like an API in Python, the texts are different colors for different sort of elements. And I don't know that the Jupyter Notebook team, well, I know that they're thinking about it, but I don't think that they have made any substantive changes yet. So I think as a community of users of Jupyter Notebook, we should raise these concerns with those folks and proactively work with them to try and find ways that are more accessible. I have suggested, oh, well, you could use the web browser reader screen and all things in the OS, but I don't think that's enough. And I think there's more we can do.
Thank you for bringing that up, because during the JupyterCon last year, I purposely asked the folks at the Jupyter convention folks, the folks that who were developing that, to inject me into evaluating the accessibility for their next version.
Great.
Yep, that was one of their sessions, and so we attended that session.
Let's hold them to it. Are there any other questions from the audience? I know I'm going to steal some of your data, so we'll be in touch on that. Larry, do you have a question?
So when you started with the single dot, that was my looking at NRP namespaces that were associated with a campus. But what I've learned in preparing for this Cenic conference is that there are an additional at least 400 individuals using Jupyter Lab, which is one namespace, not assigned to any campus. And so one of the things I'm wondering is, I'll go back and look at the numbers, but there are other things besides just namespaces that you can look at, and there may be there may be more people on your campus than you would know about by whether they've actually created personally a namespace or not, or they're working within a professor's namespace. But one of the questions I've got is, what is your ability to horizontally, within the CSU system, transfer the lessons and the things at work to other CSUs so they don't have to start from scratch like you and develop it all? And is there something the Chancellor's Office can do to support you to support the other CSUs?
So I think definitely we have to start somewhere that we can learn from ourselves and then learn from others, and then we can try to replicate and make it usable. I know, I think it was last year, late last year or early this year, Tom went to Chico State, and Tom hosted a session, and I was just part of the person that doing a remote presentation. And I think that's one of the things that we can do is we can have these kind of sessions, either do it remotely, doing in person. I was just leveraging NRP real quick. I say, hey, let me just show you something, 10 minutes. I log in, I pull the temperature and the data, and temperature data and what you may call it, that air quality data out of those national data platform. And I just do a quick coordinations of all the 23 CSU campuses and say, voila, right? It's a very simple how-to, and then hopefully that will spin up additional conversation just by using a really quick show and tell. Yeah.
Say it again, Tom.
So the data he pulled out was the data for the big fire they'd had a year before and all the air quality and everything else. And boy, did that get everybody's attention. That was really, really good showmanship.
And I think for our faculty, if we can see from other institutions that are already using it in the classroom or to evaluate some of the research data, if they can actually see it in the works, that would really help them too, to say, okay, I can actually use Jupyter for my course classwork or for my research data analysis.
So for each campus, I think we might have to customize a little bit to show their interest, and then we can spin up more conversation.
So you may or may not be aware of the Carpentries, and they have a pretty solid pedagogy. I would encourage you to look at how they do their training, because there's elements of what they're already teaching and what we need people to know to be able to successfully use Jupyter Notebooks. So it's a great place to look for inspiration.
Oh yeah, we did look at the carpentry.
Yeah.
And then so we were like, if I would have to take the whole carpentry and then put it into a single class, that's quite a
Too
bit
much.
of
Way too much.
So yeah, hence the shareable module that I'm trying to see, would this work for our campus, and then hopefully other campus can adopt. And the idea is now, because we're all campus shop, maybe we can make our shareable module to be a campus community, and then other campuses can adopt.
Nice. Okay, so we're at time for both our last presentation. So let us thank the speakers. Really, really impressive work. And also for all of you who have stayed until the end, this is the close of the conference. So I have 10 minutes to say thank you to all of our sponsors again. And let me just go through the list, because there's a lot of them. We're very lucky. So we have 2 titanium sponsors. That's the highest level sponsor. That's HPE and Fortinet. There are 9 platinum sponsors, and hopefully you had time to visit them on the tables outside. That's AT&T, Cisco Systems, Comcast Business, Crown Castle, Frontier Business Solutions, Lumen, NWN, Spectrum Enterprises, ViewSonic with the beautiful display out there. And we have 4 company sponsors of Monday's dinner, Astound, Vast Networks, GeoLinks, and Palo Alto Networks, and 4 companies that sponsored the awards luncheon yesterday. That was Equinox, Horizon 3.ai, Peer Group, and Nokia, and SHI. And 4 companies sponsored Tuesday's reception: Arista, ITG, OSI Global, and Zayo. So the conference organizers wanted me to remind you that you can recycle your badges at the registration desk. So make sure you take your swag off of them and pull all the business cards you've been collecting all week out, and you can return the case and the lanyard to the desk, and we'll use them again in March of 2028 when we'll be back here in Monterey for the Cenic Conference 2028. And with that, we're officially closed. Thank you very much. Let's go enjoy lunch.